So this is Mark Hummel, and this is Mark Hummel's Harmonica Party, and I'm sitting here with my friend Willie Chambers from the Chambers Brothers. We haven't seen each other in, I want to say it's been about a year, I think.
Yeah, maybe just a little more than a year.
Maybe a little more, yeah. Mm-hmm. But I'm in Los Angeles at Willie's home, and we're in Leimert Park. Is that how you say it? Leimert Park, right.
Park.
And we're just going to talk about Willie's career, how he got to California from Mississippi, and playing in the Chambers Brothers, and all the different people that you've known and places you've played, and been all around the world.
Oh, yeah.
So I wanted to start with just, you came, I know you told me the name of the town. It was some tiny little spot in Mississippi, right?
About 100 people, maybe 200 people. Carthage, Mississippi. Well,
Carthage
had maybe 500 people.
Carthage.
Yeah.
Okay, is that where you're from?
Carthage, Mississippi.
Okay. And you moved out here, did you say the 50s?
1954.
54, right. Okay. And what year were you born, by the way?
1938.
Okay, all right. All right. So you are definitely younger than Barbara.
Barbara's older than me?
Barbara's, yeah. She was born 29, I think.
Oh, my
1929,
God.
yeah.
And she's still kicking.
She's still kicking.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That gives me inspiration.
Yes, she is very inspiring. And so so I wanted to just talk a little bit about you. You grew up in Mississippi, and you said you worked on a farm, right?
Yeah, cotton, corn, peas, beans, sugarcane, watermelons, cucumbers, squash, tomatoes, carrots, onions, you name it.
Uh-huh. And what was, and you have 3 brothers alive? Or 4?
There's 3 brothers still alive.
3 brothers still
Joe,
alive.
Lester,
yes.
and myself.
Right. Okay. And you guys, what are your age differences?
2 years difference.
2 years in each. Okay.
There was 13 kids, and
right. That's what I remember.
Every 2 years, my mom and dad say, "Hey, we need to talk."
Yeah, I know you came from a really large family, and were all of you working during that time, like on the farm?
Well, some of the older brothers lived in different towns, different places, and they had their own farm. Mm-hmm. Matthew, Benjamin, and Rosie was our older sister. Uh-huh. They all lived like in Flora, Mississippi, which was about 75, 80 miles away.
Flora?
Yeah. Flora.
Okay. I've heard of that.
And but George, Lester, Joe, and myself, we all lived in Carthage. Uh-huh. On the farm there.
So where were you in the place of ages?
I'm number 7.
You're number 7. Mm-hmm. Okay, all right. So that's a huge family.
Smack dab in the middle.
Yeah, that is a huge family. And now, were you guys sharecropping?
We were sharecroppers.
Sharecropping.
Yeah.
Okay. And so you did a lot of picking cotton. Is that right?
A lot of picking cotton, pulling corn, shucking corn, shelling corn.
Right.
Shelling peas.
Right.
When I was 13 years old, my brother George got drafted into the Korean War. Mm-hmm. Matter of fact, we were just putting our group together. We were working in the fields one day.
Wow.
My brother Lester and Joe and myself and 2 of our cousins, we had a little group. We were a gospel group.
Right.
The Chambers Brothers was that was our main thing. That was the beginning. That's all I can remember is from the time we were born was gospel music.
Now, how did you pick up on gospel music? Was that from church, or was it in records? Or?
Well, it started at home. The first singing and music I ever heard came from my mom and dad.
Okay.
When I was maybe a year old, I remember there was after working in the fields every day, there was singing after. Well, we call it supper, then we call it dinner now.
Right, right.
After supper, there was singing, sitting around the fireplace and whatever, and singing. And it just continued. When we worked in the fields, we sang all day.
Now, would you sing gospel when you're singing in the fields, or would you sing different songs?
We sang gospel, spiritual songs.
Uh-huh.
Neighboring farmers would, at church on Sunday, would request certain songs. Would you guys sing this song tomorrow when you went in the fields?
Yeah.
It was like a certain time of the evening.
Yeah.
You could say, "Hey," and you hear it go, "Hey, hey, hey, hey."
Right,
hey.
right. That's what I've heard. Yeah.
A certain time of the evening.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
That time of the evening, we were singing all day.
I've heard you could hear like for like miles.
Yeah, it would travel every time you say "hey," they go "hey, hey, hey, hey." That's how it's about every mile. It would It would say "hey" again.
That's amazing.
Until it fades out. It would travel.
That's amazing. Yeah.
And we were always singing, and it really made the work not seem so hard. Mm-hmm. Everybody gets singing. You didn't notice how hard the work or how long the day was.
Right.
It just was beautiful.
So it gave a certain relief.
Yes.
When you sang. Yeah.
When I was 13 years old, we were working in the fields one day, and George and an older brother, Major, they sang in a senior group.
Uh-huh.
But in the fields, we sang together all the time.
Right.
And we were just singing along, and we decided, hey, why don't we just have a singing group among ourselves?
Yeah.
So we were just deciding that, and we decided we were going to be a group within the family. Mm-hmm. Well, we couldn't come up with a name for the group. Everybody submitted a name, but we couldn't get everybody agreeing on one particular name at the same time. So we decided, well, we just have to call ourselves the Chambers Brothers. Right.
Well, that's a good name.
They're not bad at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's how we ended up being the Chambers Brothers. And when I was 13, my dad had gotten sick. He'd gone fishing one Saturday, and he ate some bad food, and he got ptomaine poisoning, and he passed out and collapsed.
Wow.
While fishing.
Yeah. In
the swamps, and he lay there all day in the sun, and he got totally dehydrated.
God Almighty.
He ended up in the hospital. He was in the hospital forever.
Yeah.
But when he did come out of the hospital, he couldn't work anymore. He just couldn't do it anymore. And
wow.
Brother George got drafted into the Korean War.
Right.
And the landowner came down to the house one evening and said to my mom, "Vic, I might be having to ask y'all to move out of the house. It seems you ain't got nobody to do the work anymore."
God Almighty.
So that's how sharecropping, the landowner gave you a makeshift sometime, depending on what kind of attitude the landowner had toward.
Yeah, you were totally at the mercy.
Yeah. Sometimes the houses, you could lay in your bed and
look up at the sky.
Yeah. But the landowner we had at the time, he was decent.
Yeah,
we had a fairly decent house to live in.
Mm-hmm.
But he was saying he would probably have to ask us to leave because we had nobody to do the work. Because my dad and my brother George, they did all the heavy duty work at the time.
Like tractors and
that kind of always mule and plow.
Right. Okay, it was mule and plow. Wow.
So when my dad was sick and he couldn't work anymore, and then just when we were putting our group together, a week after we decided we were going to be the Chambers Brothers, George got drafted into the Korean War.
Oh my God.
So that was the end of that. So when he went off to the Korean War, and the landowner says, old George can't work anymore, and little George is over in the war. You got nobody to do the work. I might have to ask y'all to move out of the house. And I'm thinking, I was 13, and I'm thinking, oh my God, that's gonna separate our family, because if we can't stay there, no landowner's gonna allow us to live on the land. We can't turn that work. It was 35 acres of cotton and 25 acres of corn at the time.
Yeah.
So he's talking to my mom, and I said, I can do it. And he just took a quick glance at me and kept saying to my mom, what he was saying, get out.
Right.
He said, I might have to ask you to get out.
Yeah.
So and I said it again, I can do it. He said, boy, you mighty little. I said, yeah, but I can do it. And he looked at me and he says, all right, boy, I'm going to give you a year, see what you can do.
Wow.
I did it for 3 years, 35 acres of cotton and 25 acres of corn, all by myself.
Yeah.
It was one of the hardest things I ever had to encounter.
Right.
I'm still recuperating from that.
I bet, man.
But I did it. I did it for 3 years.
Yeah, that's incredible.
But I told my dad, I says, I don't think I can make it another year. It's too much.
Mm-hmm.
You know, my feet were.
And it was just you?
Just me. 35 acres of cotton and 25 acres of corn.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, I did the whole thing, the plant, the culp, the turning the soil,
yeah,
preparation for planting,
yeah,
fertilizer.
That is a big job.
Oh, God, tell me about it.
I can barely do that for an hour.
I did it from sun up to sundown.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, for 3 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't have the upper body strength, so I had to work. I had to hook my elbow into my pelvis and do it like that. So right now my body is like that.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy, man.
This side is way up here, and this side. Anyway, I did it for 3. I did that for 3 years. It kept our family together. That was my only concern. God had to be in the plan because there's no way I could have did that.
Yeah.
At that age.
Yeah.
For 3 years.
And your brothers couldn't do it because they were too young.
He was 2 years younger than me.
Yeah, so they were too young.
And then Joe was 2 years younger than him.
Right.
So,
wow. Yeah.
And the rest of the brothers was married and living in different places.
Right. So they weren't really in a position.
Their own families to support them.
Right.
It was me. I was born right at time, right on the good times and catch it all. But it kept our family intact. Yeah. Because I knew if we couldn't live on this land, nobody's going to allow us to move on the land because you got to be able to do that work or else you're out of it. And I knew at that point that would make us have to split up. A couple go live here and a couple go live with relatives and stuff like that. And I didn't want that to happen, so
so you basically kept the family together.
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
Yeah, I sure
Let me move this a little bit towards
that
you.
It was quite strenuous, but I managed to do it for 3 years.
Yeah.
But I told my dad, I said, Dad, I don't think I can make it another year, and I'm not picking any cotton.
And I know you told me a hell of a story about how you left Mississippi. What put you in a position where you had to leave Mississippi when you got into a confrontation with the landowner?
That's when we were a junior group, me and Joe Lester, me and 2 of our cousins. We every weekend we went someplace to sing, and some friends had their dad he drove a school bus. He owned everybody on their own school bus. The men would build the school buses. They would get by the trucks and they would build the bodies.
Wow.
And they just had benches inside the body of the school bus. Anyway, there was a...
And were you going to school the whole time you were picking cotton?
I never got a chance to go to school.
Yeah. Did any of your brothers?
Yeah, they went to school.
Yeah.
I was working in the
Basically,
field.
you had no choice.
And when I told my dad I couldn't do it another year, I didn't think I would make it. He says, it's all right, son. We're at the end of this crop. We're going to California.
We're gone. Yeah, right.
The first year that I was doing that, 35 acres of cotton and 25 acres of corn, we had gone, every weekend we went someplace to sing. It was a church, church affiliated. We were a gospel group. And everybody wanted to go someplace.
Right.
So at church we would announce that we were going, and there would be a bus, and the the man who owned the bus, he never charged us more than $20,
Yeah.
19, $20, no
Yeah.
matter how far.
No matter where you went.
19 or $20.
Wow. Okay.
And we would announce it at church, and everybody wants to go somewhere.
Right.
So everybody would want to go, and we charge them like a quarter to 50 cents to ride the bus.
So that kind of helped.
That paid for our bus and our snacks.
Right.
We had it going on.
Right. Sounds like
this
it.
one particular night, we went further than we had ever gone. I think we got home around 4:30 or 5 o'clock in the morning.
Oh my God.
Well, I didn't have time to sleep at all. I had to get right to the fields. And I was like, gee whiz and cotton. I don't know if you know what that means. That's a cloud. It's on an angle. Like one blade is there, one blade is
right.
They're not even, and it's hard to do. So
and that's why you were saying the thing about. Is that part of why?
Oh, I had to do that all the time.
That was all the time. Yeah.
You go down one side, and then you go back down the other side. And making preparations.
Is that what a turn row is?
Turn row? I don't know what that is.
I've heard something about what a turn row is or something, but I don't know.
Turning plow.
Maybe, yeah, okay. I thought I heard something.
This is a gee whiz. Like you're getting the cotton is about so high now,
right? And
you push the dirt up, covers up everything except the cotton is thick, and then because the cotton is like that, you got to thin it out.
Right.
You put it in groups like ever so many inches apart. And that's the kind of work I was doing that one particular morning. And like it was okay when the sun was just coming up. But 10 o'clock that morning, oh man, the sun came out and it's so hot. I couldn't work. I had to rest. I had to take a lot of breaks.
Right.
And one time I was taking my break, and the landowner came out. He glared over in that direction for a minute, and then he went back inside. So I'm working again.
Right.
Now I got to take another break. So
and
when he comes out,
he didn't see that you were working.
No,
again.
When he comes out a second time, I'm taking a break again.
Right. He thinks you're not doing anything.
And it looked like to him that I just was not working.
Right. Right.
He stared over across the fields at me, and then he reached over and he dragged his rocking chair over on the front porch, and he sat down. His wife came out and brought him the newspaper and a big picture of iced tea or Kool-Aid or something. And now he's picks up his newspaper and he's reading the paper like this,
looking at you. Yeah, right. Yeah.
To tell you the truth, that pissed me off.
I bet it did.
It did.
I can
and
understand.
I said, the heck with it. I ain't.
Yeah.
And I just quit.
Right.
Well, that made him really angry.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he slammed down his newspaper. He jumped. He went and got in his car. He come driving down the road like a crazy person.
Right.
I had about a 3-acre corn patch off the road. And he parked his car on the road, and he came through the corn. He was just knocking the corn all around.
Right.
And I said, well, this is going to be
bad.
Serious.
Yeah.
So I reached down and I disconnected the single tree from the plow. That's a hickory piece of wood. It's about like, I disconnected and just left it laying in place. I said, if it comes to it, this will be my defense. I'll use this as to defend myself.
Yeah.
So he came down through the corn, and he got like 10 feet or 20 feet away. I suggested, don't come no closer, just talk to me from there. Yeah. And so he says, nigger, you threatening me? I says, no, I will kill you. Really, I did.
And you were what, about 16 at this point?
I was 13.
13, you were 13,
I was
okay.
13, and when I said that, he really got angry, and he says, nigger, I'm gonna beat your black ass. When I get done beating your ass, you're gonna work to my satisfaction. And he came at me again. I scooped up the single tree and I swung at it. He jumped back. He says, nigger, you tried to hit me in the head. I says, I will kill you. And that made him more mad. He
I
came
bet.
at me a second time, and
Oh my God!
I almost caught him that time. He
Yeah.
jumped back.
Wow.
And he realized
You were serious.
I was serious.
Yeah.
He was serious, and I was serious
Yeah.
too. And like,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna stand there and let some guy
Yeah.
kick my butt like
Right,
that.
exactly,
Like,
yeah.
no, that's the problem with. That's why Black history is what it is today.
Right,
because
exactly.
our forefathers didn't defend themselves.
Right.
They were humble.
Right.
Well, see, Black people are one of the most God-fearing people on the planet, and generally a Black person would rather humble himself and,
Yeah.
and take a beating than to retaliate.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not a good thing in some situations.
No.
You need to defend yourself. I'll tell you another story that convinced me that that's not the way to go. Is
Right.
to go, oh, please don't hurt me.
Right.
So when I swung at him a second time, he come down and he says, man, you got to do the work. I says, the work is going to get done. I said, but you can't bother me like this. You got to leave me alone.
Mm-hmm.
I says, I didn't get any sleep last night, and I'm doing the best I can do.
Yeah.
But the work is going to get done.
Mm-hmm.
So he went on.
Mm-hmm.
He went and got in his car and went back home.
Yeah.
But that evening he came down to the house and he told my dad, he says, George, I got to talk to you. And my dad says, yes, sir, what is it? He says, well, that boy of yours there, he cursed me out over in the field today and tried to hit me in the head with the singer tree. My dad says, now, wait a minute. You had to give him a reason to do that. Then he got mad at my dad.
Yeah. Wow.
Are you calling me a liar? My dad says, no, I'm not calling you a liar. But that's my son. I raised him, and I know he would never do anything like that.
Right.
Unless you gave him a cause.
Right.
And he says, well, I like your family. You're a hard-working family. I like all of you, but you're going to have to do something with that one. That means I gotta be gone.
Yeah.
Or else there's going to be a lynching.
Jesus.
After that, and I got my brother in Korea, and he's gonna hear about this.
Yeah.
And I can imagine the agony he went through being away in the Korean War,
Sure.
knowing that I have retaliated in that manner,
Right.
and he know the results, what the results could be.
Yeah.
And he's there, and he can't walk away. He can't come and defend me.
Right.
I think about it all the time, what he must have been going through, thinking any day he's going to get a letter saying that
You're dead.
They burned Willie alive.
Yeah. And that stuff happened.
You can't do stuff like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
But I found out a couple of years ago, I did an interview,
Right.
and the guy was here for 2 or 3 days. I told that story. And when he left here, he went to our band house address,
Right.
took pictures. Then he went to Mississippi and he looked up that family.
Right.
Well, the father had passed away,
Sure.
but his son was there.
Mm-hmm.
And so he interviewed his son. And at the end of the interview, he when he finished the interview thing, he sent him a copy of the interview, and he sent me a copy. And I had a birthday celebration, and the guy that interviewed me came to the party. And when he walked in, and he says, "Hey, Willie, how are you?" I says, "I'm fine. Hey, man, good to see you." He said, "That guy in Mississippi is really mad at you." I said, "Why is he mad at me?" That's when I realized he never.
That the father never told him.
The father never. He never. Not even his son.
Not even his son. Yeah.
Because his son would have been the first person
To come after
me.
Right.
And
How old was his son?
He was a year younger than me.
You're younger, but he still would have come after you.
Oh, he was a pain in the butt. He was always, when he turned 12 years old, he made a special trip down to our house, and he called Joe and me and Lester to his attention. He says, "I need to talk to you guys." He said, "Tomorrow's my birthday. I'm turning 12. It's about time you guys start saying yes, sir, no, sir, and mister to me."
God almighty.
Now he's 12 years
Yeah,
old.
12 years
and
old.
he's already said, we got to say mister,
That's
yes,
horrible.
sir, no,
Yeah.
sir.
Yeah.
to him, I chased him, not all the way home, but I went after him, and he took off running.
Yeah.
Him and me, we were getting into it all the time.
Yeah.
One time he tried to, he shot me in my back with a bow and arrow, but it didn't penetrate. I had on a thick plaid shirt and a thermal shirt underneath there and overalls. But I was taking the muse into the barn one time to feed them, and he came out and he says, "Hey, help me find the baby kittens. The cat had some kittens in the hayloft. You love little baby kittens. They're sweet, they smell good, and they're precious.
Right.
Help me find the baby kittens. They're in the hayloft." But he had gone there prior to that and stashed his bow and arrow.
Oh my goodness.
And so I'm excited to find these baby kittens. So we get upstairs, up in the hayloft, and I'm listening to see if I can hear the baby kittens. And he says, "I think I heard him over there. Go look over there." So when I went over there,
that's when he shot you.
He takes his bow and arrow and he shoots me. It hit a nerve. It punctured a nerve or something, because it made my legs go straight out like this, and I fell flat on my back. I realized because when I jumped up, he was still holding the bow, and I went after him. So he was trying to run out of the barn. But just before when he's going down the ladder like this, I was running after him, and I saw the pitchfork, and in stride, I just scooped up the pitchfork, and when he was like this, I just put the pitchfork in his throat. I says, "I'm gonna kill you."
Wow.
So he starts crying and says, "Oh, please don't kill me. Please, I'm sorry, please don't kill me.
Unbelievable.
Please don't kill me." After about 20 minutes, I released the pitchfork from him.
Well, it's a good thing his father didn't tell him. Yeah.
Every white person for miles around would have came to kill a 13-year-old black boy.
That's right.
Tried to hit a white man.
So do you remember a lot of things like that happening growing up?
Yeah.
I mean, kids getting murdered and stuff like that.
There was another family lived about a half mile from us. He had 3 sons and 2 daughters and a wife. And they killed every one. They killed all 3 of his sons.
God.
These people don't go to jail. They don't get arrested.
Of course not.
My dad had bought me an acoustic guitar, and I took the guitar out of the case, and I slid the case underneath the edge of my bed. Mm-hmm. And I had a 12-gauge shotgun and a rifle, 22 rifle. Yeah. I put that under the edge of the bed, and I filled the guitar case with ammo.
Wow!
I said, "This is going to be a different lynching."
Yeah.
I said,
someone else is going to go.
when I hear the voice saying, "Come out of there!"
Right.
I was just going to start killing. I was going to start shooting everybody I saw.
Wow!
And I know his son would have been the first. He would have been the one saying, "Come out of there!"
Right. Yeah.
Come out of there.
Exactly.
He would have been the first person there.
So after this incident happened, is that when your family moved?
Well, we stayed there 3 years after that.
Oh, it was 3 years after that you guys stayed.
3 years we stayed.
Wow. Okay.
That's why I was prepared. I had
for some reason I thought you guys left right after this incident.
We stayed 3 years after that. I did the whole thing for 3 years.
You must have been on pins and needles some of that time.
Well, you can imagine. When I went to bed at night, I made sure everything was convenient. I didn't have to look for anything.
Right.
I was not just going to go down like that.
Right.
I was going to take out every person I could.
I don't blame you.
I know what they're going to do to me.
Right.
And it was going to be a different one. It's not going to be just a funeral and a family that cries and that's the end of it. No, it wasn't going to be like that.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So what ended up convincing your family to leave after 3 years? Was it what exactly was the...
Well, my dad was sympathetic to what I was going through.
Right.
It was a 3-year planning thing. But we couldn't rejoice. We couldn't tell our friends or relatives.
It had to be a secret.
It had to be totally secret.
Yeah.
3 years after that, that's when we came to California.
Right. And how did you guys drive, or what did you do?
We
exactly?
drove. Two brother-in-laws came from here. That was here. Two of my older sister's husbands.
Okay.
They came in a station wagon.
And got you guys.
To bring us out.
Yeah.
To bring us out.
Wow.
Anyway, like I was saying, when I was 4 years old, I remember a situation that happened. My dad came home. He'd been into town, and he came home. He was winded. He was huffing and puffing, and I heard my mom says, "Oh my God, Mr. Chambers, whatever is going on? What's wrong?" And he says, "There's going to be some angry white men here tonight. You can take the kids and go to your mom's if you want. Or you can stay if you want." She says, "I'm staying. What is going on? What's wrong?" He says, "Well, I was walking in town, and there was some white men walking in back, and one of them said to the other one, 'I bet you won't go up there and kick that nigger in his ass.' And the guy says, 'Well, hell, I will too.' So he tried it up there, and he kicked my dad, and my dad beat the living daylights out of him.
Wow.
Broke his arm, broke his ribs.
Whoa.
And put the guy in the hospital.
Unbelievable.
And he said to my mom, "And they're going to be coming here tonight. I don't want you to say anything. I don't want you to get out of your seat."
Yeah.
And he says, "I can take care of this myself." And he says, "I would have killed the son of a bitch if they hadn't dragged me off of him."
Yeah.
That was my dad's attitude.
Yeah.
He didn't.
So you know where you got it.
Yeah. But I learned from that.
Yeah.
I was only 4 years old when that
Yeah.
happened, when they
Yeah.
came. But it was terrifying.
Well, sure.
It was terrible, and like we're all sitting there,
Did they ever show up?
Sure, they did.
And what happened?
Was sitting there listening, and like the boy says, "George, come out of there." I says, "I'm going to help my dad." I was 4 years old. I said, "I can bite somebody on the leg. I can do something."
Yeah.
And he looked at me and said, "Sit down, boy." So I sat back down. But then he reached in the corner and got his 12-gauge shotgun.
Yeah.
And he loaded it. And he put some more shells in his pocket. And he walked out. Well, by now I'm in the window. And these guys were on horses. They had torches, ropes, and all kinds of stuff.
Unbelievable.
And the first thing they said to my dad, "Now, George, put the gun down." And they had guns.
Yeah.
So my dad says, "You got guns, put your guns down." He said, "Now, George, you know what you did." And he said, "Yeah, I know what I did, and I'll do it again." And I said, "George, now put the gun down. We got some moonshine whiskey. We're going to go down here in the woods. We're going to build a fire, and we're going to talk this thing over." So my dad says, I don't drink moonshine whiskey, and I'm not about to go down there in any woods with you or anybody else.
Yeah.
Whatever you got to say to me, you say it here."
Yeah.
And I said, "Now, George, we don't want to hurt you." So he says, I'm not worried about you hurting me." And this is, "Now, George, put the gun down. We don't want to have to come up there and get you." So when they said that, he cocked his shotgun.
Yeah. Right.
And he said, this gun I bought it brand new. It is loaded, and it has never failed to fire. Now, ever who's coming up here to get me, come on, I will blow your head off.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
they started looking at me. "You're going to..." "Hell no, I ain't going to." So they sat there for a moment, and they just turned and rode off. A few years ago, thinking about all of this, and I realized what really actually went down and how powerful that was, that he defended himself in that manner that he did.
Yeah, that he was not going to back down.
No, he would have died.
Yeah.
He would.
But he'd rather go like that than the other way. Hell yeah.
So
Yeah.
a few years ago, I'm thinking about this, sitting right here in this house. I'm thinking about that, and I realized, because you got all the black leaders, you got Martin Luther King, you got Jesse Jackson, you got Al Sharpton, and all these people that are still saying, allow us, let us.
Right.
You give us our freedom. There ain't a man on this planet nowhere that can give you your freedom. And just situations like that made me think about how my dad handled that. Nobody's going to give it to you.
Yeah.
He
had to stand his ground.
You got to stand your ground.
Yeah.
There's a time when you need to stand your ground.
Yeah. No matter what.
No matter what.
Yeah.
And like after that situation with my dad, and when they came to lynch him, and he defended himself in that manner, and they just kind of turned and rode off.
Yeah, because they're basically cowards behind
the
whole thing.
They protected us. They protected us from that day on.
Interesting.
Joe, Lester, and me, we were just kids.
Yeah.
We like to go fishing. We like to go visit our relatives. Right. We like to go to church. We like to go. We like to go to the movies. We like to go to town, and you walked wherever you wanted to go. But my mom, she was, please, boys, don't go. Please don't go. My dad says, I don't ever want to hear you tell my boys they can't go. They can go wherever they want, whenever they want.
That's heavy duty, man.
She was afraid that
was going to that something was going to happen. Yeah.
And that's generally the case if you don't have a dad like our dad.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Anyway.
That is a heavy story. Man.
We would be coming home and stuff like that. Sometimes it would be at night.
Yeah.
And then there's these guys, they ride around.
Right around just looking for something.
And they do it all the time.
Oh, yeah.
You know, like this it's a weekend pleasure for them.
Right.
You know, so they would run up, we would come across them quite frequently.
Yeah.
But every time, the first thing they would say, what are you little niggas doing out here?
Right.
We're going home. What's your daddy's name?
And that made a difference.
George Chambers.
Boy, that's a trip, man.
They would say, oh,
that is such a trip.
You better get in this car and let us take you home.
That is
before
really
somebody
a trip.
bad run up on you.
That is heavy duty.
Paying attention, like these are the guys that would castrate you. They're going to do something terrible to you.
Yeah, no doubt.
These are the guys that are saying us, you better get in this car and let us take you home. And that's exactly what they would do.
It's amazing.
No black person was ever allowed to ride in the front seat of a white man's car.
Right.
So we were just kids, but we'd get in the back seat of the car, and this guy was like our chauffeur now.
So what was it like on your way out? I'm just curious. So on your drive from Mississippi to California, what was that like?
When we left Mississippi, two brother-in-laws drove down to Mississippi to get a
station wagon. Yeah.
So when they came in, they had to pass the landowner's house. Mm-hmm. Well, the roads were gravel, and you could hear a car coming for a mile away because the gravel makes a sound. Well, it wasn't frequently that a car came down the road. Right. So if a car came down the road, you know it's somebody you're not familiar with. It's not that often you hear a car coming down these little roads. Right. So the landowner hears a car. He goes out and he looks. Well, they're passing his house. He reads the tag. It says California. He knew where it's going. Yeah. So they 20 minutes after they were there, the plan was they were going to sleep that night, and we would leave early in the morning. Mm-hmm. But the landowner came down to the house, and he was like looking at the car, and he said to my brother-in-law, "This your car?" "Yeah." "California, huh?" I said, "Yes, sir." "Well, I hope you didn't come down here thinking you're going to take my niggers out of here."
Wow.
Oh no, we're just visiting.
Yeah.
"Well, if that's the case, enjoy your stay. But if you think you're coming down here to take people out of here, you better get in that car right now and head back to California." Wow. Oh no, we're just visiting. So when he left, that changed the whole plan.
Yeah, you were basically out of there that night.
We were out of there as fast as we could get out of there. Well, we couldn't drive past his house. We pushed the car. Really,
wow.
Literally, because we couldn't get his attention.
Yeah.
We didn't want him to, because he would have came out and tried to stop us, and that would have been
a lynching.
That would have been an unpleasant.
Non-pleasant.
We weren't about to not stop.
Absolutely, yeah.
But my mom and dad stayed behind. I didn't want to go because I didn't want to leave them.
Now, why did they do that?
To face the consequences.
Really?
And they had some things they wanted to sell off, and so we're not going.
So when did they go?
They came a week later.
A week later?
A week or two later they came.
Uh-huh.
It's about a 3 days journey. I never slept the whole trip because it just felt like any minute we were going to be stopped by these angry white men, and they was going to try to stop us.
And what was it like going across the country back then?
I was scared every minute because I had one baby sister and two younger brothers, and I felt like I was responsible for them all the time.
You were the oldest,
I had to take care of them.
Right.
And I felt like something was going to happen. The whole
Would you guys
trip.
stop so your brother-in-laws could sleep? What would they do about that?
They switched. One guy was
switch
driving,
off.
the other guy was sleeping.
So no stopping.
No stopping.
Yeah,
just
that's
for
incredible.
Gas. Just for gas in the bathroom. Pulled into this gas station in Mississippi to gas up, and the guy came out and he looked. He says, "Golly, what kind of car is this? I ain't never seen no car like this." It was a George had bought a brand new Oldsmobile.
Okay.
It was a pretty attractive looking car.
Yeah.
And he looks at the car, and he jumps in the car and he takes off.
When you guys are standing there?
We were standing there. He jumps in the car and took off.
Unbelievable.
He didn't say, "Can I drive it?"
Unbelievable.
He just jumped in the car and he took off.
Whoa.
And we go, "Holy moly." So they got down the road, he goes on out of sight. But then a few minutes he came back. I said, "Golly, boy, this car sure drives good."
Jeez.
And then he pumped the gas in and we left.
Unbelievable.
What are you going to do?
What are you going to do? Yeah. No kidding, man. So when you got to California, what were your impressions of Los Angeles and California?
Well, it was night when we got here. When we got to Los Angeles, it was night. It was 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. Daylight came. I walked outside, and I looked. I'd never seen such a disgusting place in my life. It was like building. No trees.
Yeah.
No green grass.
What did you end up liking about Los Angeles? I hope you liked something eventually.
Well, I very quickly came to the conclusion that this is where it's going to be. This is where I'm going to be. I better start trying to figure out a way
how to like it. Yeah, right.
So a couple of days went by. I walked down to the corner. I looked back. Everything looked too similar. Everything looked alike.
Hard to know where you were.
Yeah.
So
I started panicking. I said, "I better get back." So I walked back to the house. Later on that day, I walked back down to the corner again, and I'm looking. Went back. Came out a third time, walked down to the corner, and this time I made a left turn and walked halfway down that block. I got halfway down that block. I turned around to look. I didn't know where I was.
Oh, no.
I said, "Oh, my God."
Yeah.
But I pretty quickly, I realized I only came one block.
Right.
Made one turn. I just go back to that corner and back down. So, I want to try that again. It took me quite a while to adventure out.
To realize where you were and how to get back. Yeah.
Reading the streets didn't count, It says 17th Street. Where is that?
Right. Yeah. Where's that in relation?
But
to
after a
anything else?
while, it was okay. Somebody decided, hey,
We're in charge.
we're in charge.
Yeah. Yeah.
We better take charge of this.
Well, I want to get back to. I had a musical question for you because this is pretty heavy stuff we're getting into.
Yeah,
But,
it could go on
it
forever.
really is. But one of the questions I had when you and your brother started singing as kids, how did you develop your harmonies?
It was just everybody sang good. Everybody sang well.
Right.
Everybody.
But I mean, how did you discover? You know,
voice range. Everybody's voice had a different range, and like baritone, people had a heavier voice range. They sang baritone to bass.
Yeah.
And people with a higher pitch, they sang the soprano.
But you could find the the harmonies.
It was just
a natural thing.
Everybody knew where their parts belonged.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
It was not a hard decision to make.
And the other thing to me that's interesting is just that brothers, like a family. There's a thing about the way families can sing because they've been singing for so long together. They know each other so well, and there's that almost organic thing of how to vocally.
It's amazing. Like
it really is.
It doesn't take words. You don't have to. Use just a quick glance and everybody gets the
everyone
message.
knows where they're supposed to be.
Just a quick glance and everybody. Oh, okay.
So now you moved out to Los Angeles, obviously.
54.